Hey everybody, I'm Yvonne Williams with Back to Earth Creations, and in this video I want to show y'all how to wrap a donut bead or hololith or whatever you call these. It's a little bead like this, doesn't have any holes drilled in it, it's just a donut. So let's get started. In this project I am using 13 inches or longer of the 18 gauge copper core parawire. This is a dead soft copper wire that's been covered in a non-tarnish enamel. And then I'm going to be doing my coiling and weaving and wrapping and stuff with a 26 gauge copper core parawire in antique copper color. I get it from parawire.com. There'll be links down in the video description to all the tools and materials used in this project. And I'm going to be wrapping these cute little acrylic donut beads. Well, they're not really beads because there aren't any holes drilled in them. But this project could be done on anything that has this kind of shape and structure, even if it does have like a hole drilled through it. Words are so hard. So yeah, and you can actually make some of your own of these out of polymer clay, and I think I'll be doing that in another video. But I'm going to start by, you can't see them because I'm off camera, but I'm pulling off a full arm span of this 26 gauge wire, and I'm going to use wire snips to just cut it off. And then I'm going to start here on the end of our 18 gauge wire, lining it up like this, and then I'm going to just start wrapping. See kind of how that happens? And then you can push it together with your fingernails to make it nice and tight. If you have problems with it being kind of loose, I'll show you how to overcome that. So like here you can see there's a gap. We can push it together, but that little bit of wire doesn't stay down the way I feel like it should. So I'm going to take some bent nose pliers, and I'm going to come in and I'm just going to start cinching this down. And this tightens up the spring of the coil. And then we can continue coiling, and you can see here you can do it quite loosely and then compact it down with your fingernails. But I prefer to try to, and you can see I just scooched it down a little bit more. I like to work towards the end of my wire and try to put the coils as close to side by side to each other as you can. And then just scooch it down. And again, you can see there's that little bit of bumping there. This is where these bent nose pliers come in super handy. You take it and just kind of cinch it down, and it evens it out. The reason why I like to work close to the tip as opposed to much farther in on the project is, first off, it leaves all of this wire nice and even and unmarred, whereas down here you can see from where my fingers are gripping it, it kind of gives it a little bit more shape and texture. But if you work really far in on your wire, then you have to kind of work around all of it. Whereas if you work towards the tip, you don't have to worry about it so much. And so I'm just going to keep kind of coiling around like that. Smoosh. There we go. And also, if you have any problems with like this happening, see how messy that is? All you gotta do is just undo a few coils. It'll be alright. I usually come in and just straighten it out, pressing it with my fingernail. And then just be very careful because it'll want to keep going in that same pattern. Just bring it around like that. Smush it down. If you're running low on space on the end of your wire or having a hard time getting it to slide, go ahead and grip it with your pliers and just pull it down. And I am going to go ahead and continue this coiling pattern through the entire length of our 26 gauge. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll meet y'all right back here. So here you can see I'm getting kind of close to the end of our wire, but I don't have nearly as much coiled as what I want. So I'm going to continue doing some coils. Just bringing it around like this, and I'm going to go ahead and keep it nice and open. So as it gets closer and closer to the end of our 26 gauge wire, And you could also use a 24 or a 28 gauge for this. Personally, I found that the 24 gauge is a little harder on my hands and my fingernails, and the 28 gauge kind of just takes a little too much. I love the 28 gauge for weaving, but the 26 is probably my favorite for just doing coils on. So you can see here, I did use my pliers to kind of smush that down, and so I'm going to come in with this and layer it, probably like back here. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit more so you can get a really good idea of what's going on. But yeah, just laying it in between some of the coils. And then trying my best to keep the wire in between the previous coils. I'm just kind of bringing that around. See how that happens? That one's not really laying the way that I want it to, so I'm going to smush it down and press it around just a little bit more. And now's a perfect opportunity to use my bent nose pliers to smush this around and in, just like that, because you want to not be able to tell where the join happened. So just going to continue, and the wire will have a tendency to kind of fall where it's supposed to go. There we are. And so you can see how that all came together, and there's a whole lot of space happening here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to smush everything together, and you can see our start and end points. So again, we're going to come in with our bent nose pliers and just cinch that down to try to make it invisible. And now from here, I'm going to continue coiling and moving this down the core wire, and then I'll meet y'all right back here whenever we get done with that. So here we've gotten to the last little bit, and I'm just smushing it down with my fingernails, pushing it together, and then I'm going to use my bent nose pliers to bring that around. And you can see this is starting to tear up my thumbnail and everything, so much for ever having nice looking nails. And now we can zoom out. You can see I have this whole segment that's a lot of coiling. I'm going to come from the other end, center it up just a little bit more, because I want to try to have an equal amount of space-ish on each end of our length of wire. There we go. And so now I'm going to take, what am I going to use for a mandrel this time? I've got this little clay sculpting awl, or you could use an actual mandrel if you want. I'm going to find the center of our wire, and I'm going to wrap it around twice, making just a nice little bail. And then I'm going to cross these right there. And then I'm going to twist the way you would a twist tie twice. Remove our bail, or mandrel, sorry. And then I'm just spreading these with my fingers a little bit to give it some space. And then this is an instance where different sized mandrels can come in handy. If you don't have mandrels, but you have knitting needles, same thing. So I'm going to take, this one's the thinnest one I have. This is a size 8 or 5mm mandrel. Will the camera focus on it? We don't know. There we go. And I'm going to set it right there. Sorry, repositioning the camera a bit. I'm just setting this right on the shoulder. If the bail is the head and that's the neck, this is going to be the shoulder. And I'm just going to coil around just like that. And I'm being mindful of the placement of this wire. It came around and then crossed on the front. So now I'm going to position this on the other shoulder, and I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Again, making sure that my wire is coming around on the front side, because my goal here is to get these to mirror image each other. And then I'm going to take this end that's coming around and feed it in through the back. And just come pulling nice and tight. And this will come with practice. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you can kind of train the wire around to come through, again, from behind towards you. And then use your finger to help it kind of coil down into shape. And I'm going to try to shrink them down to the very similar size, just using your eye for perspective and sizing. There we go. And now I'm going to do a tight little loop, which the motion that I'm going to be doing is bringing my fingertips. I'm going to zoom out a little bit for you so you can get the full perspective of my messy work desk. Bring your fingertips together like this. One palm away from you, one palm towards you. And then turn. That is the motion that I'm finding myself using pretty consistently. So I just pin the wire in between them. I'm gripping this wire here and gripping this wire here. Bring my fingertips together and it makes a cute little loop. Now this is something that I highly recommend practicing like a whole bunch because it does not always come out like that. And then to get it to happen the same way, I want to make sure that this wire is ending up on the front, just like on this side. So I'm just going to put my fingertips together, gripping this wire and gripping this area. And boop. Let's see how that came out. Oh, it came out okay. Just like that. And now let's compare this to our piece. And also, this is the back side, and this is the front side maybe, but honestly, it could go either way. I kind of like the way this side looks. But we can decide for ourselves what we want. And so I think I'm going to have this come around and slide through. Sorry, I did not mean to go off camera. But I've just angled these guys to where they're offset a little bit towards the front or back. We haven't decided yet. Because honestly, this pendant could face either way. It could be reversible. But I'm just going to slide these through the center of our donut a little bit deeper and bring it up so that it sits framed like that. Excuse me, I've got the sniffles. It's that time of year again. And then I'm just taking it and I'm pulling it off to the side. And then around. So I'm taking this side and I'm pulling it up and around and then down. And they line up relatively the same. If you're real particular about symmetry, you could be into coil counting, counting how many repetitions around it goes. I'm just going to eyeball it. This one looks to be just a few millimeters, like maybe 5 or 6 millimeters longer than the other. So I'm going to get in there with my thumbnails and open it up a bit. And what that does, you can see, is it isolates that wire. So I'm going to come in with my wire snips and try my best to snip just that one wire. And then I'm going to slide this off the end. You can use this in other jewelry. So I'm just going to pull that off the end and set it aside for other projects. And I'm going to come in with my bent nose pliers and shape that down. Keep everything pushed together. And I'm going to come in, I'm going to snip our core wire about 5 or 6 millimeters from the end of where our coiling stopped. That's not quite even. Good enough. And I'm going to take our round nose pliers and grip as close to the tip of the pliers and as close to the tip of the wires as we're comfortable with. And then just start coiling that spiral in. Excuse me. These sniffles are driving me crazy. But yeah, just kind of turning that in like that. And this is a really nice, you could dress this up, you could dress it down, you could do however you like. I'm just going to take this and position it just a little bit more. If you get any spreading on the coils, you can actually come in with your fingernail and kind of redistribute those coils a little bit more, make it look more even. You could also use like a tool or something for this if you had anything. But there we are. That's one side, and that's the other. Hey everybody! Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this tutorial. I do hope that it was helpful to you. If you have any questions, comments, or ideas, please leave them down below. If you have any requests for future tutorials, I'd love to hear those. I'm always looking to make new videos for our daily uploads that we do here. So also, if you follow along with any of my tutorials or just want to show me what you're up to, you can feel free to follow me. I'm at Back to Earth Creations on Facebook, and you can post photos to the wall and all kind of stuff to share, you know, what you're up to with the community over there. And then I'm also on Instagram too. So again, you can kind of like tag me, and that way I can see what you're up to, and then also follow along with some behind the scenes antics and different things here at Back to Earth Creations. If you enjoy my free tutorials and would like to support the creation of more of them, as well as participate in our fairy house giveaways and craft crates and all sorts of different things, please check us out on Patreon. There'll be links down in the video description below. Now also, this is one of the projects that at the time of recording, we're towards the end of November. This is going to be one of the projects in our December craft crates that you might get. It's, you know, some of them you get stuff for doing. You always get wire wrapping if you sign up for the wire wrapping. We also do chainmail ones. We also do combo kits. We also do random. But this is something that would be in one of our craft crates, regardless of the time of year. But I make my own little, I'll be making my own little donut beads and then sending you the wires so that you can wrap your own. And it's good fun. But also, if you'd like to support what we do but don't necessarily have it in your budget or just don't feel like being on Patreon, please like, share, and subscribe, and just keep being crafty, keep exploring your own creativity and trying out new things, and, you know, seeing what you like, seeing what you need more practice at, and seeing what you're like, oh, I don't much care for that. So thanks you guys so much, and I'll see y'all around. Happy crafting. Bye.